Developing strong friendships or relationships requires vulnerability, but sometimes it's hard to know how to share the deep parts of ourselves. It's so easy to develop surface-level relationships with surface-level conversations, but those kinds of relationships can feel somewhat empty. Welcome to another episode of the All Around Growth podcast. My name is Rob Kaiser and I am your host. For those of you who are new, the All Around Growth podcast is a show that provides insight and tools to build the life and homestead of your dreams. Today is Friday, July 16th, 2021. And like I said, this is episode number 152 of the show. And we're going to dive into a deeper talk question during this morning's commute in order to get beyond those surface level conversations. And we're going to look into a question that, if discussed with someone else, such as yourself or a loved one, brings you one step closer to sharing the deep part of yourself that is sometimes difficult to do. Now, I've done episodes like this in the past, but maybe you haven't heard one of those before. So the Deeper Talk deck is an expansion of the original Icebreaker deck, which is a product by the Best Self Company. And each of the 150 prompts on the cards will help you get to know people on a deeper level, have more interesting and meaningful conversations, and elevate your communication skills. Now, within these 150 cards, there are 6 categories: courage, beliefs, life lessons, self-awareness, dreams, and exposed. And I'm just going to choose a card at random and use that as a talking point for today. And if this idea sounds interesting, I'll link to this deck in the show notes. It's pretty cool. I'm a big fan of a lot of the various Best Self products. I use their journal routinely. I used it this morning. Use these cards with friends, also for podcast episodes like this. And I'll link to it in the show notes, and if you're interested, you can use this VIP code that I have, which is YMF, short for York Meadow Farm, an acronym for York Meadow Farm, and you can get 15% off of your first order. So check that out if you're interested. So here we go. I'm not going to look at a card. I'll just choose one at random, and sometimes this isn't the most pleasant experience because these cards have difficult questions, but and sometimes I don't like them, in all honesty. But here we go. The card is Dreams, and I'm going to set the deck down. We'll hit the road, and I will read the question. All right, let's do this. If you met your hero, what question would you ask? Well, I guess before we even think about the question that we would ask our hero, the order of operations, if you will, would get us thinking about who our hero is in the first place. And that's provided we haven't met him or her already. So, well, who are some of the heroes that I have? That's a good question. That's a really good question, actually. This isn't something that I think about all that often. So maybe instead of thinking about heroes, I might mention some people right off the top of my head that inspire me at this moment. Dan Miller from the 48 Days community. That's something that I've been involved with for 6-7 months now. I'm involved with it as much as I can at this capacity. Well, I take that back. I've got a call with somebody today who's trying to spitball ideas on some nature coaching, forest walk type enterprise. I don't know. She reached out to people who had experience in the green industry, and I was one of them, and offered to participate and help if there was any way that I could. And but I've never met him. What question would I ask? I don't know. He's got a podcast, and he answers all kinds of questions. And check it out, 48 Days to the Work You Love, online radio show. You can hear him answer all sorts of questions there. Jeff Lawton is another person that inspires me. I was lucky enough to meet him at the Permaculture Voices conference years ago. I was lucky enough to have dinner with him, Paul Wheaton, Larry Santoyo, Toby Hemingway. It was a tremendous dinner. Seth Peterson cooked up a whole spread, and a lot of other people contributed from the Permies community. And being somewhat new to permaculture, that was one of the first experiences that I had, a shared experience with people. But these are people that I've met. And ideas of entrepreneurship inspire me. Ideas of homesteading inspire me. Ideas of self-reliance and sustainability and regenerative landscapes, homesteads and farms inspire me. People who are constantly looking and seeking ways to facilitate healthy, positive, and beneficial change inspire me. Stagnation drives me mad. It's something that I'm not comfortable with at all. I used to work for a man that I didn't enjoy working for him so much at the time. He would say a number of things that they weren't offensive or anything. They were just very direct, and I find myself saying many of these same things now, and almost in a sense becoming this man in certain capacities, compartmentalized ways in my life. But one of the things that Ray used to say was, "Rob, you're either growing or dying. Your people are either growing or dying." And it took a long time. It took years for me to finally understand what he meant by that. Well, quite frankly, I don't know what he meant by that, but I know what it means to me. And it means that if you're not actively growing, you're just kind of stable, stagnant, The one consistent thing in this life is that time moves forward. The sun always rises in the east tomorrow. And there are times, certainly, when we need to take a step back, take a moment to relax, and shut down. And that's okay. These aren't the times that I'm talking about. But if you get too comfortable in that period of time where you're not actively growing, life, that is, can turn into a period of stagnation. We get comfortable in our complacency. We begin to lose sight of who we are and why we do the things that we do. We don't understand our purpose. We don't understand, we don't really understand much of anything at all. So, being around people who share those inspirational and motivational aspects in life is important to me. I believe that we are the sum total of the people that we surround ourselves with. Maybe it was Jim Rohn, perhaps, who said something about the 5. I paused because somebody was engaging in some unusual behavior in a driveway that just drove away. Anyways, maybe it was Jim Rohn that said we embrace the characteristics of the 5 people we spend the most time with or around, or something to that effect. And in closing, I guess, one of the reasons why I wanted to dive into a deeper talk episode, and looking back, it's been 50 episodes since I've done one of these. We haven't engaged in a deeper talk type of dialogue since March. And here we are, mid-July. We're already halfway through 2021, which again sort of brings up the idea of time and how it's moving forward and where we're at and what we're doing. So the question is, if you met your hero, what question would you ask? And like I often do, I'll answer this question with a question and challenge you to think about who your hero is and why. And once you figure that out, then you can figure out the questions you might ask. If you already know who your hero is, great. You're a step ahead of me. But I'm actively trying to figure that out, I suppose, and figure out why. And but getting back to the idea of motivation and inspiration, engaging in behaviors that my heroes do, it's important to surround yourself with people who do that. And I've talked about this in recent episodes. If I can remember, I'll link to it in the show notes. But the 48 Days community 48 Days Eagles community is a great way to do that. It's an online social media community that allows you to interact with people of a similar mindset. It's in a great way. So anyways, that's it for today. If you like what you hear, check out the show notes. There will be links to the Deeper Talk deck, the code where you can get a discount for any of the Best Self products. And if you like what you hear, check out the community on Telegram, t.me/allaroundgrowth. You can type that into your desktop browser. You can find us there. Or if you've got the Telegram Messenger app on your phone already, good on you for doing so. You can just search the groups for All Around Growth, t.me/allaroundgrowth. There are links to rate and review the podcast in the show notes as well. If you would do so, that would be wonderful. But more importantly, if you like what you hear and you find some value in it, share it with someone in your life. Share it with a friend or a loved one, or someone that you may think obtain value from it as well. That's really the best thing that we can do to help grow the community that is forming with people who share the same values that you do. People who are interested in personal growth and development and who are actively working and taking steps in that direction to improve upon and enhance the all-around growth in their own life. If you have any questions or feedback for me, feel free to direct them to the Telegram chat. You can also send me an email at allaroundgrowth@gmail.com. And last but not least, there's a link to all episodes as well in the show notes. And that's it. This is Rob Kaiser, and thank you. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. And again, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you. Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.